Trump takes the mainstream media to court. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is another declaration of truth from your host, Terry A. Hurlbut. Now, you know what anyone scornfully tells a public figure when stories come out about him, putting him in a bad light. Why don't you go to court if you think they're lying about you? Well, yesterday, Donald J. Trump announced his intention to do just that. Take the media to court. Now, in deciding to do that, Trump is putting everything on the line. His name, his reputation, and just where the truth comes down. He has a truth claim. The cable news network, who are only his first target, has another. Who's right? Now a judge will decide. Before I get into that, I do want to shout out to the sponsor of this channel, which is Conservative News and Views, link in the description. Be sure to check out the awesome CNAV Store. Scroll down near the bottom of that link. Lots of good merchandise there, including this t-shirt that I've chosen for today, which reads, The Great MAGA King. Okay, let's get to it. The announcement came yesterday from Pajamas Media. Donald Trump has retained Washington, D.C.'s IFRA law firm to press his case against the mainstream media. Last week, July 21st, Mr. James M. Trusty, the lawyer handling Trump's case, sent a demand letter to CNN. I have a link to it in the description. Mr. Trusty addressed that letter specifically to Mr. Chris Light, current Chief Executive Officer of CNN, and David Vigilante, Executive Vice President and General Counsel. In it, he laid out the grievance Trump has with CNN, which is false and misleading statements about Trump. I quote, in accordance with Florida Statute Section 770.02, CNN must publish a full and fair correction, apology, or retraction in the same editions or corresponding issues of the website publication in which the aforementioned articles, transcripts, or broadcasts appeared, and in as conspicuous a place and type as said original article, transcript, or broadcast within 10 days of the date of service of this notice. Failure to publish such a correction, apology, or retraction will result in the filing of a lawsuit and damages being sought against you, CNN. Now, Mr. Trusty goes on for 26 pages in all to list the statements by CNN with which Trump takes issue. After those 26 pages come 256 pages of exhibits, reproducing relevant CNN web pages and transcripts. Mr. Trusty goes back to the election of 2016. After that election, many Democratic Party figures accused Trump of getting Russian hackers to steal the election. Clay Travis assembled and tweeted out 10 minutes of footage, which Mr. Trusty cites, and to which I have a link in the description. Mr. Trusty also names those Democratic Party figures and accuses CNN of failing to challenge their assertions that Trump was an illegitimate president. The names are Hillary Clinton, Kamala Harris, who was then a senator from California, Joe Biden, Jimmy Carter, Jerry Nadler, John Lewis, Dianne Feinstein, the senior senator from California, Marcia Fudge, whoever that is, and Debbie Wasserman Schultz. But notice, Mr. Trusty doesn't spend but so much time on that election. In fact, barely one on a page. He really wants to accuse CNN of having a double standard. To be more specific, if CNN were copacetic with airing those Democrats' claims about the election of 2016, and, well, Mr. Trusty doesn't quite assert that CNN agree with them, but he does seem to say that they blew these off as just politics. Well, why didn't they blow off Trump when he asserted that there might be some irregularities in 2020? What's sauce for the goose, or maybe in this case the gaggle of geese, is sauce for the gander. We see that all the time in trials in courts of law. Basically, Mr. Trusty is making the case that CNN refused, without foundation, even to consider that Trump might be correct. Maybe they should have examined critically the evidence for and against Trump's assertions. They could have asked themselves, what might make a man genuinely believe that someone might have done something about an election, whether that was true or not? But they seemed instead to have decided a priori that he was lying deliberately. In short, not only did Trump lose fair and square, but he knew it, and he lied about it anyway. So now it'll be up to a judge to decide whether CNN did right or jumped the gun. No doubt CNN will make a public policy claim, and again, that's why we have civil trials. Mr. Trusty lists 37 CNN articles and broadcast segments in reverse order of publication or release. All of them say much the same thing. Trump lost, he knew he lost, and he's worse than a sore loser. The lawyer counts 7,700 repetitions of the phrase big lie or other assertions that Trump lied deliberately about the election. He lists all these things to show malice. Now this is what I mean by laying it on the line. Truth is an absolute defense against a charge of libel, slander, defamation, or malice. So whatever you think of Trump's truth claims, you know he's taking a chance. Then again, Donald Trump has made his reputation by taking chances. Finally, Mr. Trusty leaves two demands. 4, retraction of just about every negative thing CNN said about Trump, and preservation of documents, both hard copy and electronic, relating to the story of Trump and the election of 2020. Now come the exhibits. Before I get into those, I want to shout out to another sponsor, BitNext. This is your replacement for Zoom, Slack, the Google G Suite, Microsoft Office 365, Dropbox, WeTransfer, and Chili Piper, among others. Unlike any of them, BitNext protects your content and conversations so well, even the administrators can't see it. So, this is your channel for secure comms, conferences, cloud storage, and file sharing. Best of all, everything is back-end, so you don't even need client software. If you have a browser, you can use BitNext. 28 days free of charge. You'll find that in the link at the very bottom. Now, you can't beat that with a stick. Okay, now back to those exhibits. Mr. Trusty lists them all to tell CNN that they show actionable malice. Do they? Well, that's up to a court to decide. Now, technically, CNN has until next Monday, August 1st, to retract the narrative. Thus far, they've made no move to do so. But those exhibits don't exactly show the best production values. Frankly, they look like storyboards for a 1930s movie serial like Torchy Blame or Superman featuring Lois Lane. Now, like the 37 articles Trusty cited in the letter, he lays out 34 exhibits in the reverse order of publication. Most of them, again, tell the same story. Trump lost, and he's lying about the election of 2020, and that he has convinced too many people for the country's good that he is telling the truth. Well, that last part reads like another plea for that curatorial function that Barack Obama once said that the mainstream media used to perform and should perform again. But some exhibits lament the failures of Joe Biden's proposed election reforms, like the For the People Act. That act would have federalized elections and mandated some of the very practices that Trump was complaining about. Well, with those exhibits, the Trusty letter ends. Now, PJ Media mentions a few other things that I'm not going to mention here. They don't go to CNN's reportage anyway. You'll find them in the article and in a video that I did on another platform. Now, Trump, in his full announcement, made clear that CNN would not be his only target. Let me quote him. "I have notified CNN of my intent to file a lawsuit over their repeated defamatory statements against me. I will also be commencing actions against other media outlets who have defamed me and defrauded the public. Now, about that last, that goes back to Trump's basic truth claim. And then he adds this, and I quote, "I will never stop fighting for the truth and for the future of our country," unquote, Donald Trump. Now, Kari Lake, candidate for governor of Arizona, praised Trump's announcement yesterday afternoon. I have a link to her tweet in the description, so you can read it there. Now, let's sum up, shall we? As I said, Trump's putting it all on the line. He's asking a judge to weigh two sets of truth claims. Trump says one thing, the mainstream media say another. Now, who's right? Well, we'll see, won't we? And you have to admit that if the January 6th committee had looked into any of these truth claims in any real detail, I don't think we would be at this pass. Link in the description of the article, to the demand letter, to the the tweets by Clay Travis and Kari Lake, to another video I've done on another platform, and to Conservative News and Views. I have another link to the awesome online store and to BitNext, as I also mentioned. And if you like what you've heard, you can like this video. Now, I'm going to leave a subscribe link in the end screen and also some links to other videos about that J6 committee. This is Terry A. Hurlbut delivering another declaration of truth and reminding you to let the truth set you free.